Techbusters, proudly brought to you by Ericsson.
Good evening and welcome to Techbusters. This is your get to understand everything about tech show, and with me is the irrepressible, the unpronounceable Aki Anastasiou.
Lovely to be with us on your show. Thank you for joining us. We talk everything tech, whatever's changing your day, whatever's changing your life in the technological world, whether it's virtual reality, whether it's augmented reality. It might be a 3D printer, it might be the latest smartphone device that you're holding in your hand, how it's impacting the world that we're living in. That's what the conversation is about right here on Techbusters. And if you want to join in the conversation, please use the hashtag Techbusters, and just remember to tweet us at CNBC Africa. Welcome to the show.
Tonight on Techbusters, Toby chats to Facebook's head of Africa about how their activity on the continent is growing from strength to strength. And we investigate how technology has influenced the world of real estate. All this and more tonight on Techbusters.
Nuno, it's been a year since you were appointed the head of Africa for Facebook, and this is your first interview. Thank you very much for choosing us lovely people at Techbusters. Just tell us about this journey. I mean, it's been a really interesting time, especially for Facebook's growth.
Oh yeah, it's been a really interesting time for us, the first 12 months. And I think what we have focused on in the last 12 months is really two things. We've focused on setting up. We did not have an office 12 months ago, setting the office up. But most importantly, deepening our relationships with some of the clients that we've served over a while, but we've served in a remote way. So we've spent the last 12 months going through the continent, meeting some of our key clients and making sure that we understand where we are as a platform, learning from them, and hopefully just making sure that we're serving them in the best way possible.
As we see Facebook around the world using more and more photographs, more and more video, how do you overcome that challenge in Africa? Autoplay is a useful feature if you're on a very fast 4G network or a wired infrastructure hotspot. What do you do when you're on a cell phone in the middle of Kampala and you don't have a good signal?
We have developed certain products that are specifically for the continent, like Slideshow. So Slideshow is a product that is almost a video product, that it gives you the feeling of video without taking the amount of bandwidth that you need with video. So it puts about 5 to 7 images and you get that feeling. So it absolutely is fantastic. But also on the other side, we see the growth of video in Africa, a proper video. We watch people coming online and consuming video at almost the same level as it's being consumed around the world. So we're seeing both sides of the coin, and we're able to serve both sides of the coin.
So one of the products is Facebook Lite, right? A lightweight version of the social network. Tell us a little bit about that, please.
I think Facebook Lite has been one of our fastest growing products because of that. I think that the user experience is absolutely fantastic when you compare it to normal Facebook, and we've seen the growth purely because people do have some of the kind of challenges that they have in Africa. But it's been a fantastic adoption rate, and people use it all the time, and it's a fantastic product for Africa. So we're very, very happy that it's growing at the rate at which it's growing.
So virtual reality is one of the big things that Facebook's focused on, but I suppose it's going to be a while before something of that kind of cost and bandwidth usage arrives in Africa, but I assume sometime soon.
Oh, absolutely. It's part and parcel of our growth path. So yes, right now we're talking about Facebook. Messaging is our next frontier. And yes, virtual reality and that kind of immersive type of engagement is certainly in our growth path, but at this point in time, we're absolutely still at this level. So yes, we see it as something that's going to be important, but not at this stage and perhaps in the near future.
Well, Nunu, thank you very much. Good luck with the next year, and we'll speak again soon.
We'll speak soon. Thank you so much.
NASA's Mars rover, Curiosity, celebrates its 4th year on Mars since landing at Gale Crater on August 5, 2012. Let's take a quick look back at the past year. The rover operations team at JPL has hit its stride. 4 years of experience allows them to plan challenging and complex activities much faster. It used to take a month to drill and analyze a rock sample. Now it takes just a week. In spite of the expected wear and tear, Curiosity is fully functional and as busy as ever. The drill, the sample processing system, and every science instrument continue to do what they were designed to do. The wheels are slowly getting beat up, but testing of spare wheels at JPL has shown that with careful driving, they will last long enough to get the rover to all the places on Mount Sharp that the science team wishes to explore. Much of the past year was spent on an obstacle course of sorts on lower Mount Sharp. Our athletic rover climbed over a rocky plateau and had to wind its way through the Bagnall Dune Field, a stretch of beautiful and currently active sand dunes that skirt the lower mountain, blocking Curiosity from heading straight towards higher elevations. But the rover reached a spot where it could drive around the dunes, making a long-awaited left turn and beginning a more aggressive climb. As Curiosity crossed the Knocklift Plateau, it studied fractures in the ancient sandstone where groundwater once flowed and permeated the surrounding rock, causing changes in chemistry that created light-toned halos around the fractures. The science team compared rock powder drilled from the halo with that drilled from unaltered rock. The haloed regions were enriched in silica but depleted in other chemical elements. It appears that groundwater transported chemical elements from some rock layers and deposited them in others. Recently, NASA gave Curiosity the best anniversary gift it could hope for, an extension of its mission for at least 2 more years. We'll use it to reach progressively higher and younger rocks on Mount Sharp, including rock types we've not yet explored. We can't wait to see how the story of the ancient habitability of Mars continues to unfold.
We're at Samsung HQ and we're with Craig Fleischer, who heads up the mobile division at Samsung. Highly successfully a veteran in the industry. You've been in the industry for a long time, Craig. How long have you been around for?
Almost 20 years now, Aki.
It must be, you've seen such interesting changes, and when you look at the devices that were around 20 years ago and you look at what's available today, it must be like you've got to pinch yourself and say, how did we get here so quickly?
Yeah, unbelievable, really. I think if we have a look, when I first joined the industry, smaller was better, and the smaller the device got, the better it got. And now it's all about the bigger screen and the interactiveness with multimedia and virtual reality and what we call Phone Plus strategy, which is all the peripheral wearables and accessories that come with the devices these days. Technology has evolved to such an extent, and Samsung have really been the leading edge in terms of bringing out new innovative technology, processors, memory, screen tech. And it's really been great that our competitors in this environment have also pushed us to evolve and become better than we were last year.
Come the S6 and the S7, and you've kicked the lights out of the industry. You know, the S7 Edge and the S7 at the moment are probably, arguably, and if you look at the reviews around there, they're probably the 2 best phones in the world right now in terms of quality and what you're getting out of them.
What was happening was that technology companies were really going out there and just building what they thought consumers wanted. What we really did is we went back to consumers and wanted to understand what is it that you really want from a device. Now, I think the design elements around the S6 device, the glass and the all metal and the first curved screen was really what consumers wanted. But yet we had to drop out, unfortunately, the SD card slot. Yes. And that was a big thing which we brought back on the S7, and then the IP rating, which we had on the S5 already. Yes. So bringing back that water resistance to that device, and then that complete new design around that curved screen. And the S6 won so many design awards.
You know, Samsung's not just about the S7 Edge and the S7, right? Because you play in that low segment of the market as well. You've got quite a range of phones. I think the J series is also quite popular as well.
So, you know, Aki, what it is there's always this halo effect that we do when it comes to marketing. And obviously we're going to spend the most amount of money on our high-end devices. But what we tend to find is that not everybody, especially in the South African environment, can afford a top-end phone, pushing 15,000, 16,000 Rand. So what we do is that as we evolve the technology, we bring that technology down the price category. So slightly smaller screen, not as fast processor, not octa-core, but maybe quad-core, etc. And we make it more affordable for consumers. So the new A series is definitely fitting within that space. It's got that same design ethos with glass and aluminium within that environment. Fast charging is also now available on those phones. Increased battery capacity and the software evolution to make that battery work faster and better. Fingerprint recognition is also in that space now as well. And as time goes by, you'll start seeing that coming down the category.
Earlier you mentioned the accessories, and I'm looking at some of these accessories as like a keyboard. You guys bring up a Swarovski cover, which you use the Swarovski cover, right?
No, only on weekends, actually.
But accessories are a big part of your business, and I'm glad you mentioned VR, because VR is a really sexy term to use this year. You introduced the Samsung VR headsets with the devices this year. How's that going? Is that where the future's going? Is it going to be about virtual reality?
The VR that we've launched now with the S7 was actually our third iteration. We had, it's our third year we've been bringing out virtual reality, but we had to wait for critical mass to come into the marketplace. So we had to make sure that there was enough content for consumers to basically consume this virtual reality content. And we're seeing now that you're getting virtual reality seminars and work streams and all these different things where people are getting into the space. I think the big thing around VR is going to be sport. Obviously games and gaming is a big thing.
And Craig, you just to end off over here, I mean, these are the watches. Now, we've heard a lot about the gear, and it's amazing how the wearable stuff has grown. I mean, look at the styles here and how modern they are, and how this has matured as a technology since the first iteration of this. Is this a big part of your market as well?
No, most definitely. And if you look at the integration that we're doing, a lot of the insurance partners that we're doing business with, where we're integrating, and the solution actually talks directly into the rewards applications that are happening with the insurance providers as well. So, we've done some work with Vitality, and we've got some other providers that we're busy doing stuff with.
What are your 3 favorite apps that you use on your Samsung Galaxy S7?
So right now, every single morning, the first app I look at is the currency exchange. So it's the XE app. Every morning when I wake up.
I actually love XE as well. It's pretty cool.
So every morning when I wake up, I use XE, and that obviously determines the price points in terms of how we're buying and selling. Because we trade in Rand in this country, but we obviously buy our products in dollars, so we need to know where we go.
So Craig Fleischer's top 3 apps. First one is XE currency. Next one?
So I think from a social media perspective, I do use obviously WhatsApp all the time. I think everybody does, right? But Aki.
It's Snapchat now, Craig. Get with the program. We're using Snapchat now.
So, but I only use Snapchat for the great face pictures. The kids love that as well. I use Uber all the time. So Uber, not only here in South Africa, but often when I'm overseas as well. I mean, I'm traveling in the cities that allow Uber. In that environment, I'm using Uber all the time. I don't really have time to play a lot of games and stuff, but. I suppose those are the things. I mean, for Airbnb from time to time, if I need to find a place to stay and so on. So the standard stuff that's out there.
That's it from Samsung HQ. We hope you got a nice insight into where Samsung's going. You can expect the new flagship device, the big one, the Note, to come out later this year, and most definitely next year we'll see the S8 around February timeframe. But they've got a fantastic accessories, and VR is big according to Samsung.
Technology and real estate aren't necessarily two things that would normally go hand in hand, but recently the Techbusters team discovered that this in fact wasn't the case. Technology has played a major role in improving service delivery in the real estate field.
Evert Holst, who's the head of corporate solutions at JLL Sub-Saharan Africa, thank you so much for joining us today. Talk to us how data, technology and real estate all play a significant role in improving operational efficiencies for companies, as well as the bottom line when it comes to profitability at the end of the day. What's the link there?
Data and technology and analytics have grown at an exponential pace. It's unforeseen, and it's a development that's not going to stop, and it's only going to push forward. Where that ties into data, is the access to data and different forms of data, whether or not that is real estate data, or it is behavioral data, or it is usage data, or it's just KPIs within a company. The collective of it urges on technology solutions on how you can work that data to create new insights, and how you can go through the analytics to create added value solutions. If you look at what's happening with a lot of companies as globalization keeps going on and connecting in the Internet of Things, a lot of companies are taking a centralized data management approach as well as an organizational centralized management. So the two go hand in hand. So when global companies and the CEO sitting behind his desk looks to how to grow a business, all of that data is centralized as well, and it starts to play and make up for an interesting new world of how to analyze that.
Ewout, you also do monitor the rest of the African continent. Paint a picture for us as to which African markets are really picking up to the trend regarding technology and real estate.
Looking at Africa in terms of the more biggest economies, such as South Africa, as in actually being Johannesburg, Nigeria in the west, and as a close third, Nairobi. But I'll use Lagos as an example. I think there's a lot of kind of early adopters to technology, and also from a need almost, with such a vast population growth and GDP growth, struggling infrastructure to a certain degree, means that they're actually quite receptive. Where the real estate component becomes interesting is that we can now, through our technology systems, link the business performance with the real estate component and say, well, what are your overachieving retail branches that you do need to maintain, and which ones have become redundant. We can then put a plan together and build a business case to actually put a number against that and say, we can dispose of these non-core assets, and they represent a value, a capital, that you can now reinvest into the core of that business, which could be technology growth or it could be something else. And that's where technology, business dynamics, and the real estate component really come together. And it's, I always say this to my clients, is you have to identify where that correlation is between business performance, people, and your assets, so the real estate, and they're very much interlinked.
Well, we're now joined by the MD of JLL Sub-Saharan Africa, Craig Heen. Thank you so much for your time today, sir. Talk to us a bit about JLL and its positioning, because you don't refer to yourself as a property company, but rather a technology firm that deals into property. How does that come about, and how does it work?
Analyzing the way all business is going, be it in real estate or any other industry, we've got the usual suspects, brilliant examples of what's disrupting industry, and technology is at the forefront of that. And arguably, one could say that all business needs to become a technology business with a different front end, and certainly that's what JLL has embraced. We've realized that doing things the same way we've done them for the last 270 years is just not going to cut it. So, our focus has been, how do we use technology to create value for our clients? So,
tech, property, how do the two actually merge to be practical in today's day and age?
Right, well, in fact, I think the real estate sector is a very data-rich sector. There's a lot of information that's being produced, coming out of buildings, coming out of people, coming out of the way that people use buildings. And I think that that's really where tech and real estate merge, is where it comes to data. Whereas some businesses have been very early adopters to using data and technology, I think real estate has been fairly slow. And I think what JLL is trying to achieve is really position itself as the leaders in the road to digitization when it comes to real estate. So we're constantly thinking of clever ways of using the data that we already have. Perhaps it's stored in different sources, so our first effort is to connect that data and then create more data, not just for data's sake, but then converting that into useful information that we can use to display back to our clients or use with our clients and really add value in their lives.
I want to understand how this might be rolled out in the Sub-Saharan Africa perspective, where we know that we still have challenges regarding electricity supply, not enough access to sufficient data connectivity. So how do we then get it right?
Fixed line operators hardly existed in Africa, And it's led to a leapfrog from no telephones to mobile telephones. And in fact, the growth in smart telephones is just sort of off the charts. A product like M-Pesa, which took off in Kenya, where people could trade money on a online platform, has just been so widely adopted and quickly adopted in East Africa that I think there's a stat that something like 64% of Kenya's GDP last year was traded through M-Pesa. So Africa's challenges in terms of infrastructure is actually putting technology at the forefront as a way of solving Africa's unique challenges. So in many ways, I think the technology that we're developing globally has got massive applications and potential high adoption rates right here on our own doorstep. The main principle of what makes a technology work is that it has to drive efficiency and it has to drive cost saving as well. And I think if you can get those two right, all of the other parts of the equation, all the other parts of the puzzle start falling into place. I think that it's great that technology is coming into the workplace that is creating a better environment. It is people are monitoring the health and well-being. How hot is it? How cool is it? What are the CO2 levels? Let's get fresh air in. So I think that depending on what technology you adopt, there are cost benefits, but there's also health and well-being. So I think everyone's going to benefit from it at the end of the day.
Well, some of the technologies that were certainly brought up in the conversation, such as RED, which stands for Real Estate Data. We've got Skimit as well, which reduces the amount of information that you need to go through to bring you bite-sized information and insight. And not to forget BRight, which monitors the actual movement and use of space within offices and real estate corporate buildings. So from everything from temperature control to how many people are in a boardroom at a particular time when it's booked, if it's being used at the time that when operators say that it will be booked. They sound like futuristic technologies, but all of which can be implemented in the now. So certainly a conversation that we need to start implementing in the South African perspective, as well as from a corporate perspective from across the continent. And hopefully these are solutions that will not only lead to sustainable and increased productivity levels in South Africa, but also increased operational efficiencies for corporate companies.
My app of the week this week is one called Google Duo. Now, there's a lot of these kind of apps around here, and it's basically a video calling app. So if you use FaceTime, if you use a generic video link that's on your Android device, if you use Skype, for example, this is Google Duo, and they've tried this before, and they didn't quite crack it, but I think this time they've got it right because of the simplicity of Google Duo and the fact that it works on flaky networks. So if you're in a bad 3G area, you're still able to make great calls, and it optimizes your signal to give you the quality and make the call. So we're going to try it out in the studio right now. I'm going to call Sean, who's producing the show, and he is inside the main area, and there he is. Hello, Sean. I'm doing very well, thank you. So there you go, they're in the main control room where they're telling us, and he's talking to me on my headphones, telling me what to do. And there's the team behind there as well. Hey guys, how you doing? So that's really how it works. And then I simply end the call like this. So there you go. Thanks very much, Sean. We're going to say goodbye. And I'm going to end the call. And let's say I want to call Toby, for example, right? I'm calling Toby Shapshak. Oh, here we go. It's connecting with Toby Shapshak. There we go. Very exciting. Look at you! Look at them. Isn't this a good-looking kid? Hello, my boy.
Hello, my boy.
How are you doing?
Well, you know, I'm afraid to say that despite the fact that we are sitting next to each other, the connection is really quite slow. You called me and it took forever to connect. So I'm afraid to say good first attempt by Google, but sometimes not as connecting as always.
Right, well, there you go. Okay, put it down now, we're in studio. But the point is that I think we're calling each other via the mobile networks at the moment, so the signal inside the studios is not the greatest. But the point is I've tried it outside the studio and it's quite a good application.
Indeed, I mean it's a no-brainer for Google, isn't it?
Yeah,
I mean it is the calling method that everybody is now using. There's been Google Talk for a long time using voice calls.
Yes.
Now everybody wants to make a video call, and they have the infrastructure, the wherewithal, the means. Interesting that they are not requiring you to sign in with a Gmail account, which is
Yes.
the methodology for all the other services, isn't it? So for once, they are giving that a skip and letting you just use your phone number.
And it is so simple to use. I know what you're going to say, but it's really very easy to use. The fact that it works on Android and iOS devices is a win in itself. And you just download it, don't register, it looks into your address book, who else is using Google Duo, and you can start making calls. It's as simple as that.
Apparently it's so easy to use, even Toby Shapshak can use it.
Well, that's a change.
So that's all we have for you tonight, folks. Thanks for joining us on Techbusters. You can catch us online. He's at Aki Anastasio with his 150,000 followers. I am at Shapshak, and you have been watching at CNBC Africa, #Techbusters.
Good night.